be beneficial to all concerned. So it's believed that if we all go by the four-way tests in our daily living, in all that we do, in our homes, in our businesses, in our schools, in community life, and the world will be a much better place. So I want to yield to Eduardo to do the introductions of the key persons on this program. I welcome you all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Emily. Here today Have today two wonderful speakers. First of all, Jim Luttit is the president of GFL Global Corporation, a financial service consulting company specializing in community development and microfinance. Prior to starting his own consulting company in 2012, he worked for the Bank of Nova Scotia, with much of his work in the International Bank Division, where he lived and worked in Central and South America for 7 years, serving in executive roles. Jim became a Rotarian in early 2005 as a founding member and a second vice president of the Rotary Club of Lima Sunrise in District 4450. After leaving Peru in 2007 to return to Canada, he joined Toronto Sunrise in District 7070, serving as president in 2010-11. He also served as a district governor in 2016-17 and remains active in district foundation, governance, and memberships committees. In 2021-22, Jim became an advisor for the Community Economic Development Major Gives Initiative Committee and will serve in this role until June 2024. He's the past chair of the Rotary Action Group Chairs Council, serving in this role for the Rotary years 2019-20 and 2020-2021. He's also a past president of the Rotary Action Group for Community Economic Development and a past chair of their advisory board. Jim is also a member of the Environmental Sustainability of Rotary Action Group, International Fellowship of Motorcycle Rotarian, and the Water, Sanitation, and Hygiene Rotary Action Group. He's a member of the Paul Hart Society, Because Society, and he's a major donor. Jim also serves in a number of other organizations, including president of Toronto International Microfinance Summit, a director of Transform International Canada, a director of Economic Development and Empowerment Foundation, a director of Honoring Indigenous People, and a past president of the Peruvian Canadian Chamber of Commerce. Nick Franklin joined the Rotary Club of Westlake Village Sunrise in 2003. He was club president of Rotary year 2006-07, and during his year of president, the club was selected the best medium club in District 5240 and the best large service organization in his home community of Thousand Oaks. Nick served as a district governor of Rotary District 5240 in 2016-17. Prior to that, Nick served in District 5440 in various positions. He is currently the District Stewardship Chair and Coordinator for the District 2440 Peace Builder Club program. Nick is a major donor and a member of the Bequest Society and the Paul Hart Society. He is a graduate of the District Rotary Leadership Training Programs. He's retired from a career in software development, management, and international telecommunications. Nick has served in the Southwest Pets Committee and the Zone 26-27 Education Committee, helping to train future Rotary leaders. He is the immediate past chair of the Rotary Action Group for Community Economic Development, an organization that helps Rotarians plan, implement, and manage projects that alleviate poverty and create impactful and sustainable economic improvements in poor and underserved communities. He's also an advisor and mentor to students in the Pepperdine University Master's Program in Social Entrepreneurship. Nick has participated in projects around the world. He has seen how Rotarians change the world one life at a time, while understanding that the people most changed by humanitarian projects are the Rotarians themselves. Jim and Nick, welcome.
Thank you very much, Pastor Governor Edgardo. Sharmila, I can share my screen now.
Yes, you should be able to share your screen.
There, I think everybody can see the screen.
Yes,
we can.
Good. So, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Again, Pastor Governor Edgardo, thank you very much for that kind introduction. And Emily, it's good to hear from you as well. It's been a while. But more importantly, I want to thank Chair Sharmila and Denise for the opportunity of allowing Nick and I to spend time with your members and guests today to talk about the Rotary Action Group for Community Economic Development, or what I will call RAGSED, and how together we can create lasting change in poor and underserved communities. So today I will talk a little bit about RAGSED to give you a better understanding of who we are, and then Nick will speak about some of the projects that we are involved with. And after that, then hopefully we'll have some time for questions and answer and be able to speak about how we can collaborate on future projects as action groups. So RAGSED is a global organization that is a source of knowledge and expertise to help Rotarians plan, implement, and manage impactful and sustainable economic development projects that create lasting change in poor and underserved communities. I want to say the key words are impactful and sustainable. Impactful, what are the changes in the beneficiary community, both financially and socially? To use an example, a community clinic needed equipment and supplies. We'll say the project was successful because it provided much needed modern equipment and a generator for the clinic. But what was the impact? The number of services offered locally could increase. The number of patients being seen can double, and the cost to each patient can decrease. So there is definitely a good impact. On the sustainable side, how to ensure that the benefits will continue long after the initial Rotary participation has been completed. Well, ownership of the equipment by the clinic provides local sustainability without reliance on grants or donations. So now I want to give you a little history of RAGSED. So we were organized in 2007, one of the first action groups to start. And we started as the Rotarian Action Group for Microcredit. And then we became more commonly known as RAGM, the acronym RAGM. As the focus changed from just microloans to a larger umbrella of microfinance services, including savings and insurance, a name change was made in 2012 to the Rotarian Action Group for Microfinance and Community Development. And we kept that same acronym, RAGM. And then at our annual general meeting in early July of 2020, the latest change was announced to become the Rotary Action Group for Community Economic Development with a new acronym, RAGSED. And the reason for this change was that we wanted to better align ourselves with one of Rotary's causes, which is growing local economies. Second, we want to meet the needs of our broader base of Rotarians and beneficiaries, working in impoverished communities to strengthen local entrepreneurs, particularly women, and other community leaders. So in 2015, the United Nations created 17 Sustainable Development Goals to be achieved by the year of 2030. And as you can see from the slide, the number one goal is the elimination of poverty everywhere, which is also one of RAGSED's objectives. while pre-pandemic global rates had been cut by more than a half since the year 2000, United Nations projects that the COVID-19 pandemic could increase, and this is sad, could increase global poverty by as much as 500 million people. That's 500 million people, or 8% of the total human population. So that's the challenges that we face today, one of the challenges we face today. And then I can see from your website that you have 6 of the Sustainable Development Goals shown. So you know what I'm talking about. Community economic development comes in many shapes and sizes. As I mentioned earlier, RAGSED is a global organization that is a source of knowledge and expertise. Why? Because our members, like yours, are passionate, like-minded Rotarians, their family members and friends, and Rotaractors from clubs all over the world, interested in growing local economies by working together. They look to create opportunities by investing in communities around the world where families struggle to meet their basic need for food, shelter, work, and economic security. So how do we create these opportunities? This slide shows what we consider the pillars of a successful community economic development project. These cover a few ways of how we can help clubs with their projects. So let's go through each pillar. First, community assessment. Well, all projects begin or should begin with a community assessment, especially if you want a global grant. Some questions we ask: what are the economic and cultural characteristics of the community? What are its economic needs? What are the business opportunities and markets? This assessment confirms that economic development is a high priority and that they are welcoming of and ready for economic development, and that there are opportunities available for new entrepreneurs. The most important pillar is education, which provides the entrepreneur with basic business skills and supports creation of a business plan that becomes the roadmap for what is needed to start and then to sustain the business. And of course, sustainability is very big. Capital. Capital provides the resources needed to support the business plan. It can be money, equipment, services, or human capital. In every case, there needs to be sufficient capital to support initial business investment and a method for managing it. And what we found in some cases, capital is not the first thing required. People are looking for the education. As I said, that's the most important, and mentoring. So next we go to mentoring. A mentor, the second most important pillar, may be a local business person who commits his or her time and knowledge to support an entrepreneur or a group of entrepreneurs from the first gleam of an idea through the creation of the business and beyond. The mentor is there to review strategy and performance, to help anticipate and mitigate problems and celebrate successes. Networking. While business grows, business growth comes from adding new customers or adding products. Creating networking opportunities is the next logical step once the business has reached its initial goals and is looking to grow. An evaluation tells you how you're doing and any corrective actions that need to be made. And it also provides feedback to your investors and to your community. Knowing the specific results of the project will help determine the impact on the community, both financially and socially. And a project may not require all 6 pillars, but they must be considered as that project is created. Now, this is a slide that I received from Rotary International to show you where some of the Rotary Foundation dollars have gone during the Rotary years 2014 to June the 30th of 2022. There have been 1,372 community economic development global grants approved during this time, amounting to $82.1 million. And they have been approved for several reasons: building capacity to spur economic growth, projects that have created opportunities for employment, and to provide academic scholarships. So as a new Rotary Action Group, this will give you a good idea of the matching dollars that are available for global grants in your area of focus. So now I'm going to turn the last part of the presentation over to Nick, who will tell us about some of the projects that RAGSED is involved with. And these are projects that show Rotary's successful impact and reach. Nick, it's all yours.
And you're going to have to, yeah, there we go. And I, like Jim, would like to thank everyone for the invitation to spend time with you this morning. One of the things that, while my bio talked about all my cities, I actually live very close to Los Angeles, California. So I am, I'm enjoying my pajama bottoms and my shirt top. So thank you very much for the invitation. Let me share my screen, and I think we're going to be ready to go. And can you see the screen okay?
Yes, we
Yes,
can.
we can. Yeah.
Okay, very good. For the next few minutes, as Jim said, we're going to take a trip around the world and look at different types of community economic development projects. We're going to start in Uganda with a village savings group. In 1997, the Rotary Club of Abington Vesper in the UK initiated a project to help farmers in Uganda. This project has gone on to impact the lives of thousands of people and is now being replicated in other communities around the world. The project provides farmer training, education support, vocational training, environmental improvements, and microcredits to farmers living in the Mubende district of central Uganda. As with all community economic development projects, a key component is education. Key farmer trainers are the critical element to creating improved farming, microcredit, fuel-saving stoves, and school development projects. They come from different parts of Mubende to attend a 4-year training course in sustainable organic agriculture and financial services. In return for receiving free education, the key farmer trainers work as advisors to farmer groups and schools for 4 years. And as you can imagine, that role is critical as it gives farmers, teachers, and parents access to a wealth of agricultural knowledge. The microcredit component begins with an interest-free 3-year loan to an established group of farmers to create a village savings group. Small 10-month loans are provided to members of the group so they can buy or rent land, pay for labor, or buy an animal or seeds. At the end of 3 years, the initial group loan is repaid, but the group by that time has the equivalent amount of the original loan now as its own capital. So the group can continue lending to its members, and the returned capital is moved to form a new group. Meet Susan. Susan borrowed 200,000 Ugandan shillings from the village savings group. She bought a calf and sold it for 500,000 shillings. She paid off her loan. She bought land and paid school fees for her children. She got a new loan and bought another calf, but she had a medical need, and she sold that calf early for 400,000, but was smart enough to keep enough money to buy another calf, which is already worth 450,000 shillings. Susan has learned to plan. Susan is more in control and more secure. Susan is now an empowered member of her community. So what's the impact? Loans have been provided to over 135 farmer groups with a total of 4,000 members, touching the lives of 25,000 people. Farmers benefit from the agricultural know-how and skills. Increased income eliminates hunger, provides for education, water, and farm and home improvements. And easily produced fuel-saving stoves return time, improve health, and protect the environment. Let's leave Africa and travel to Europe, to the country of Bosnia and Herzegovina, where we'll talk about a business education and creation project. Stolac in Bosnia and Herzegovina is made up of 3 different ethnic groups that have virtually no interaction with each other. Unemployment for women was 85%. A Rotary grant helped to create a cooperative and teach women to grow, sun-dry, and sell tomatoes in the local market as a means of improving their economic condition and that of the entire community. Some of the benefits: production of tomatoes increased by 20%. 30 additional women applied to join the co-op. 4 new market sites have been established where the product could be sold, and there is a 20% increase in income for the women as a result of this project. There's also been a peace benefit. The women of the 3 ethnic groups have worked together in the co-op. They've learned to rebuild trust in each other and in the community. We're going to hop on our jet plane and travel to California in the United States of America. When we think of microfinance projects, we often visualize a developing country where loans in small dollar amounts can lift people and communities out of poverty. Microfinance has the same impact in the developed world. With communities in my district in California suffering from the Great Recession, and having participated in successful microfinance projects in other countries, local Rotarians asked, why not here? They received a $240,000 Rotary Foundation grant, which turned out to be the first grant for microfinance that the Rotary Foundation had ever issued in the developed world, and it was supported by 11 Rotary districts. A partnership was formed with Women's Economic Venture, a local microfinance institution with a successful track record. And together, they identified the target population as low-income Spanish-speaking women in Ventura and Santa Barbara counties. Since the target population spoke Spanish, half of the grant funds went to create a culturally sensitive Spanish language curriculum, an education plan, and train Spanish-speaking trainers. It also provided an outreach person to walk into the target community so that they could understand the opportunities available and how they could participate in the program. The other half of the grant went to a revolving loan fund. And as of June 2021, the fund has supported 35 businesses, loaned out almost $360,000 with a repayment rate of 97%. More important, the impact on the community in terms of revenue generated is in excess of $5 million per year. The woman holding the beautiful clothes is Reina Chavez. She worked in the medical field, but she found it difficult to find scrubs and thought it might be a problem for others. So she started a business, bringing scrubs for sale directly to medical facilities. And her success led her to open her first store. But when she needed a loan to get new inventory, she couldn't go to a traditional bank. Reina came to Women's Economic Ventures, and she got a loan funded by the Rotary Foundation grant. It allowed her to focus on her business and her family. Today, Reina has 3 stores serving the medical community, employing 10 people, and she now serves as a mentor to new Spanish-speaking entrepreneurs. We'll finish our trip around the world where we started, on the continent of Africa. We're going to take a look at a vocational training project. Unlike the other 3 projects we talked about, This project is in early development, and it is being supported by a team of advisors from RagSed. I Can Fly High School, I see there's a typo. I Can Fly High School is a fully accredited school offering courses in 11 subjects, located near Nairobi. It offers free education to orphans, child laborers, and girls rescued from early marriage and abusive environments. One of the female students recently walked into the principal's office and asked, "I'm not going to the university. What will happen to me when I graduate high school?" The principal told her, "Don't worry, we're developing a solution for you and others like you." The project will provide employable vocational training skills to graduates of the high school who will not be pursuing higher education. It's a partnership between the Rotary Club of Nairobi East in Kenya and the Rotary Club of Westlake Village Sunrise in California. The team so far has completed the needs assessment. And what they are doing is identifying skills and business opportunities that are available right now in the area around Nairobi. The other thing they're looking at is how to make this training program sustainable and able to serve other students for the future. A meeting in Nairobi in April will confirm the training approach and funding requirements, and a Rotary Foundation Global Grant is projected to be submitted early in the next Rotary year. We anticipate this grant to be somewhere between $75,000 and $100,000 US. You know, we Rotarians are people of action, and together we can create opportunities to help individuals and communities thrive financially and socially. Our action group has experts and best practices that can help you, your Rotary Club, or your Rotary District create successful, impactful, and sustainable economic development projects in your own community or in communities where your Rotary Club is active. Now you've heard our stories, it's your turn. Find your project, change lives, write your own story. For more information, visit our website, www.ragsed.org, or our Facebook page, because together we can imagine a world with economic opportunities for everyone. Working together, we can make a difference. Thank you very much for the opportunity to spend a few minutes with you to talk about community economic development. Oh, I've got to unshare.
Thank you very much to both of you. This was lots of information. Really, thank you very much. I am sure there will be questions. I ask everybody to write the question in the chat, because this is probably the best way to for me to become aware of your questions, because if you raise your hand, I may not see you because we are too many to be just on one screen. So please use the chat for your questions. I would like to ask the first question, a very practical question. I didn't expect that big amounts from the Rotary Foundation, because when we talk about microcredits, we think of very small amounts. What would be the, or I don't know if you can say that, but is there a typical amount that microcredit is for the individual?
You want me to take that?
Yeah, go ahead. And I've got some answers, some
It
thoughts as
really
well. Go ahead.
It depends on the community. I have a very good friend who works in the community of Gulu in northern Uganda. Her average loan is between $50 and $150. I'm going to talk US dollars. We're doing a microfinance and organic farming project in Honduras. We expect the average loan there to be between $500 and $750. Our project in the United States, our average loan was $10,000 US. And that's one of the reasons why when you do the needs assessment, as Jim mentioned, one of the things you need to do is what is it really going to take to make a difference in the lives of the people in that particular community? Over to you, Jim.
Yeah, and I mean, as Nick says, it does vary from community to community, country to country. You know, I can remember back in 2012 when I first went to Bangladesh. I mean, in US equivalent, it was probably $10, $15 for a loan. And when you're in an area of extreme poverty, that can buy a lot.
Of course.
You know, and I've been involved with a project in Honduras now in Central America. When we started with this project in 2013, the average loan was about $300 US. Today, you know, we're lending up to $5,000 US. These are clients that have moved from a small business into more what's called a small and medium enterprise type of business. You know, where they're employing 5, 6, 7, 8 people. So it all depends where you are.
Of course, but now we have a kind of an idea. Thank you.
Yeah.
How long is the back payment period usually?
Again, it depends. The first project I talk about, sowing the seeds in Uganda, they do a 10-month payback period because they want the farmer to be able to use the money, grow their crops, sell their crops, and then have the money to repay the loan. Here, our loans are running about a year to 18 months. I think the other aspect of that is around the world, microcredit is getting a payback of 97% or better. And if there are any bankers on this Zoom call, I would imagine you would be very, very happy if your borrowers had a 97% payback rate. We have it in Uganda, we have it in Honduras, and we have it here in the United States.
Yeah, correct. And I mean, I've seen repayment anywhere from 30 days to a year. And repayments can be made, could be at a weekly, every second week, or a monthly basis.
And the other aspect of that is, how do you repay? In some cases, they'll set up some kind of banking system. In many cases, there is somebody who from the lending institution who will visit the credit group or the group of people where the loans are to collect the money. We want to make it as easy as possible for people to repay their loan. And the other thing that in many projects, we actually take a percentage of the payback loan and we put it aside in a savings group. And in a savings account that is then available, because we want to teach the beneficiaries not only what to do with the money, but to put some money aside so that in case they need it in the future, it will be available.
Yeah.
Good. I have the first question in the chat, but allow me just to ask one more question because this is so interesting. You mentioned the lending institution. Would this be the Rotary Club on site, or who would be lending institution?
The Rotary Foundation does not let Rotary clubs manage the money.
All right.
It has to be an independent organization that is licensed in the country, in the beneficiary country, to do lending. And they come from all different places. There are microfinance institutions in many places. That's Opportunities International, the organization that Jim is working with, has an organization in Honduras where he's working that serves as a microfinance institution.
Yeah.
We have them here, but in fact, we're going through this right now with our project in Honduras. It has to be an organization that is licensed to lend money in that country, whatever the licensing requirement is. Now, in most cases, as many of you know, with global grants, you spend the money and it's gone and everybody's happy and you write a report. In the case of a revolving loan fund, you have to loan the money out, you collect it and you loan it out a second time. You can officially close the grant, but the lending institution doesn't have to give back the money. They can keep lending it. Our microfinance institution here is now on its 4th round of lending out our money. So as long as that money is being loaned, it can be managed by the lending institution.
Yeah,
That's
I mean,
interesting.
we work with my project in Honduras that I've been involved with since 2013. We use we work with a global NGO, Opportunity International, and they have a partner in Honduras, and that their partner has been in place for over 40 years. So it's a reputable institution. We make sure of that, and all the money that has gone into microloans it keeps recycling. So, once we walk away from a global grant, the people still get supported. And I mean, we talked, and I'm not sure who it was, say he was from Dhaka. Well, in Bangladesh, you've got a very, large microfinance institution there, Grameen Bank, that was started by Professor Mohammed Yunus, who everybody seems to know. He's kind of the godfather of microfinance, won a Nobel Peace Prize back in, I think it was 2006 or 2008, he and Grameen Bank. And, and I've been in Bangladesh several times. I spent a week a few years back, a number of years ago, working with Grameen Bank, and I know their portfolios. I mean, they have a good number of portfolios, anywhere from, straight loans to what they call bigger loans with no interest, loans to students to try and put them through school, no interest. So these institutions, the reputable ones, work with their communities.
Great, thank you. This is really sustainable. Let's go to the question that Chad Ciara asks, I'm interested in RAGSAT Group. How can we do something in Bangladesh? We have decent community active engagement there.
Okay, for anybody who wants to join RAGSED, our website, www.ragsed.org, or email info@ragsed.org. It turns out in Bangladesh, Nurul Kabir, who I'm sure anybody who lives a Rotarian in Dhaka probably knows Nurul, has been active in the organization for a long time. In fact, he spent some time visiting us here while we were working on a project together. And I think if you reach out to Nurul, he will be happy to get you involved in the action group.
Thank you.
That's very true. We also have one of our board members is from Dhaka, Irshad Ahmed. I can't remember what Rotary Club. No, I think he's with the Rotary Club of Dhaka, the main club. So Irshad Ahmed is somebody as well that you can reach out to if you know him or know of him. Or as Nick says, write to us and we will point you in the right direction. And I know, I know there's a good community of Rotarians that do work with community economic development in Bangladesh. So
can I jump?
We can always point you in the right direction.
Can I jump in with a statement, if possible? Okay, because I'm a chairman of a community facility close to Dhaka, and we have about 1,400 members, and we support the community, and we also develop business plans, support them in developing their business plans. So I didn't even know that this existed, so that's why I got really excited. So that's it, nothing more. Thank you.
Well, reach out to us and let's see how we can work together on this.
And Nurul Kabir knows me very well. I know him very well.
Very good.
Thank you, CR. I have another question from Edgardo. How could a microcredit program work in a country with high inflation and exchange control?
Jim, you're the banker.
Well, yeah, high inflation. I know what that's like. Before I used to live in Peru, as you heard from the introduction, Edgardo, and you're the one that read the introduction. Before I got there, inflation at one point was so high, as they say, when you get into a taxi, negotiate the fare, because when the taxi ride ends, it's going to be higher, much higher. No, it's very difficult. Fortunately, we have we do have some partners, some microfinance institutions that we can work with that try to, their interest rates are less than commercial rates, and they're what's the word I'm looking for? They're lean and mean in their structure, and so they're not looking. They don't need a whole lot of operating expense. So what we have to do is, in these countries where inflation is high or getting out of control, we have to find a local partner that we can work with that's able to keep costs within a reasonable structure.
Okay, thank you.
I hope that helps a little bit.
One other aspect, and
Yeah.
we showed it a little bit, is that every community economic development does, while microcredit is probably what we do the most of, we also give, as part of a grant, we can actually go out and help create the business by giving the facilities that the person needs. We did my club in my district did a project in Ghana for the girls who had come to Ghana from the farm and ended up on the street, and they wanted to do commercial laundry. We didn't give them a microcredit loan. We built the commercial laundry for them.
Yeah.
And they're now doing laundry for the 5 biggest hotels in Ghana and Accra. So there are lots of ways to do community economic development beyond microfinance, although that's probably not only the most popular, but the one that's most well known.
Yeah, no, you're right. And it's just not a micro loan. There's other things we can do as well.
Thank you so much.
Viva from Mexico would like to know, what is the largest and what is the smallest global grant for microcredit that you ever got?
That's interesting.
Yes.
I think I don't know what the smallest is. Well, if we're talking about global grants, the minimum grant is $30,000.
Yeah.
The ones that I've worked with, for the most part, have been in the $70,000 range.
Okay.
Yeah.
We looked at one in Uganda for $70,000. The one we're doing in Honduras is about 70,000. We did one in India, again, that same range. And of course, as I said, in the United States, costs are different. I don't know that there's been a larger microfinance grant done strictly by Rotary for more than the $250,000 grant we have here. But we do, the RAGSED has an agreement with World Vision. And I don't know how many of you are familiar with World Vision. It's the largest NGO in the world, and it supports Rotary in many different areas. If you have a large opportunity that is serving a large community, if you can raise $200,000 or more, and again, I'm talking US dollars, and World Vision has a microfinance capability in that country, they will match dollar for dollar every dollar that comes from the total Rotary organization. So,
yeah, and just from my side, I think the largest one, and this was our one in Honduras. I think we had about $150,000 was one grant. But what we've done with this project in Honduras, it's a long-term project with multiple phases. So to take you from phase 1 to phase 7, where we've not only done global grants, we've got matching funds from another NGO. The Canadian government for 5 years did a program on global grants where they would do a matching as well. Unfortunately, that stopped. So after 7 phases, with not only Rotary Foundation dollars, we put in $2.5 million, $2.5 plus billion into one project. So it's a project that is just not one village. We've moved it across over the last 7-8 years. We've moved it across different parts of Honduras. In fact, I'm going to Honduras in March just to take a look at what I call my annual due diligence visits, just to see, where the money has gone, make sure that it follows the guidelines of our grant, and then we look at the impact in the past year and what we're going to do next year. So this project, you may have just one project, but you can also extend it into various phases of a project as well.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I have another question here from James from Nigeria, Rotary Club Onigbongbo. I hope I pronounced that correctly. This club has a microcredit scheme for their community since 2019, 2020, that Rotary year. And he asked, how can RAGSED support this project to take it to the next level?
Well, maybe I can talk about that because James and I
was going to say, I think that's yours.
Yeah, James and I have talked about this as well, and I've been I've been a little slow on moving with it, but we can take projects to the anybody that has a project they want to take a look at, we can take it to our RAGSED board. We meet on a monthly basis. We can talk about the project, what we can do with it, how we can support it there, get some different ideas. Plus, our website has part of our website has a listing for projects, and we can show the project to other people, to other RAGSED members or people that are checking out the website. Take a look at, what the project is all about, and there's contact information for them if they want to participate. So, I mean, that's one way. Rotary International's got a site where you can show your projects. And I'm trying to think of the past district governor, Nick, help me out. He's Lebanese. Remember, he does websites every once in a while where you can send in your project and it can be showcased for everybody that's participating in the Zoom call. What's his name?
You're not talking about Philippe Lemoine.
No, Sharm. Is it Sharma?
Oh, Shab Elawar.
Shab Elawar, yeah.
Shab Elawar.
And he does a webinar called My Global Grant. My Global Grant, I think it is. Yeah. So there's numerous ways. Well, maybe not numerous, but there are a number of ways where we can showcase projects, or people looking for other participation, other club participation.
Good, thank you.
And
so now,
James, I'll be in touch.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you, Jim.
So now to get the turn to a potential collaboration, I think, Nick, you mentioned before that you are supporting a mental health project in Mexico?
Yeah, we're working with my club. We've got 2 clubs that work very closely together in my district. And we've been working in San Miguel de Allende, Mexico since 2016. It started out as a basically as a water project. We have provided water and sanitation and hygiene training to many communities around San Miguel, including latrines. And as I don't have to tell you the importance of latrines at schools for girls dealing with puberty and their bodily functions. So, you know, when we talked in Houston, we talked about this concept a little bit. It's a wash project because we need latrines, and they have the latrines. It's an MHH project because there's an education component. And how do you know, teach the young women what to do and what's going on with their bodies? And they're doing that. They have a curriculum. And the third part is pads, reusable pads. And what they're looking at is that's a potential business opportunity for women in the community or in the communities to learn how to make the pads, create a business. And so, I mean, that's a natural partnership of 3 different action groups, because as many of you know, touching a person's life often comes in many different shapes and sizes. So that, I mean, that's one area of where we can certainly work together, is how do we, and I don't think Rakesh is, there's a group in India, in the Bangalore area, that's also working on environmentally friendly reusable pads. And, you know, if we can come up with a scheme that says, here's sort of a standard approach to how you address this, and here's what it costs, we can probably come up with something that works together. That's the first thing that came right off the top of my head. Plus, it's real. The grant is in the process of being locked right now for review by the Rotary Foundation.
And the one in Bangalore, the reusable biodegradable pad can be used. They're saying for up to 2 years, and it's cotton based. So it looks like a worthy project as well. I happened to be speaking to a Rotary Club in it was actually the Rotary Club of North Cobb in Georgia, and they were telling me they have a project on the go now with 2 Rotary clubs and 2 schools in Nigeria. And it's a fairly new project, so they really haven't been able to measure the impact yet, but they hope to do it by this coming September, which will be 1 year. And based, on their thoughts of seeing a good positive impact, they want to attempt to put that into a larger project, doing a global grant. Then it'll cover an education piece, and it'll stretch it out. Well, this first project is for girls or youth in the school. They want to expand it into, their sisters, their mothers, their neighbors, etc. And I want to see how maybe, we can help with economic development as part of that as well. I mean, if we're going to start putting together, these products, if they can be reusable, maybe there's something that a mother can take and use it as a source of income as well as helping their own community.
Of course. I'm happy, by the way, allow me to say that you are so well informed about reusable cotton pads. That's really good. We don't find many men who know that, so we're always happy when we find allies in that mission. I mean, this is what you just described would be a typical project that we would be promoting, because obviously, apart from the education part, we are always looking at the environmental part, of the health part, the economic part. So the reusable napkins are just the best option because they are cheap to make. They're easy to make. And as you say, you can create a micro business. So you make the community of that women more independent, you empower them economically. And obviously, when you give them sewing machines, they can stitch whatever other clothes too, so they can
Exactly,
start
yeah.
doing a fashion industry in that village. So this would be the typical project we would do. So if I understand that right, and I learned a lot about microcredits today. So what we could do is ask for a global grant and match that, and try to get a microcredit for this community of women, and then give them time to, well, do a repayment schedule, whatever is fitting for that community. And by this, we tackle a number of goals because we empower them economically. We have the girls and women provided with sanitary napkins. We keep the girls in school, and well, we fight against poverty and against environmental impact. It sounds like an amazing project. Let's go for it.
Definitely.
Okay.
Happy to help. I'll tell you, I've been in Rotary 20 years. My top 3 or 4 Rotary moments all have to do with talking to beneficiaries of microfinance or microcredit and the impact it has had on their community and on themselves. And in fact, I was talking to a friend of mine and working on another project, a community economic development project in Uganda right now. And what you find is the people walk different. They stand up straight, they smile, they have self-confidence. Yeah. And let me tell you, I have a friend, very good friend, who told me Rotarians get paid in goosebumps. And talking
that's beautiful sentence.
Talking to some of these beneficiaries gives you goosebumps.
Yeah,
I'm sure.
And if you can imagine how many goosebumps we can raise when we start working together as action groups, because, you know, with that collaboration, whether it's, you know, 2 action groups or 3 action groups or 4 working together, just think of how much better, you know, how much more good we can do for people as a team effort.
Absolutely. Before we wind up and I hand over to Shamila, let me just ask you one last question that just came up to my mind. Because what we could do is also raise the money to give sewing machines and the first set of cotton to a village. And then from there, they develop the business themselves. So the first input would be a donation. What is your experience if it's not a donation or only partly combined with a microcredit, which would mean that they have an economic impact because they have to pay back something? What do you think is the better way, or why would you, I suppose, say the microcredit is a better way?
Well, you can get a global grant to give them sewing machines.
Yeah.
The question, you know, in a lot of cases, the question becomes, if I get a loan, I pay it back, then I have a level of ownership that might be different than if you give me a sewing machine. And I think a lot of that depends on the community assessment. Go into the community, find out what the need is. If, as you say, we give somebody a sewing machine, we teach them to make pads, but we also teach them how to make whatever the appropriate clothing is for that community. And we have Rotarians who train them and mentor them. You're possibly dealing with the risk of somebody taking the sewing machine down to the local market and selling it, which, you know, is always a risk when you give somebody something. So I think a lot depends on the community, on what the community is. There are communities where we have given sewing machines, where they have given sewing machines. In Zambia, for example, they started out with sewing machines, and I don't know how many of you have been to a Rotary International Convention and see the shirts that the women in Zambia make, and they sell at all the Rotary conventions. So it's really a function, I think, Denise, of going into the community, finding out what is the need and what can we do. If there's a large need beyond PADS, then maybe microcredit is the right way because we can approach a larger population. And as you know, the minimum global grant is 30,000. Potentially, you could do it with a district. I don't know if your district does district grants, which are smaller. You could do it with donations.
Yeah.
But my suggestion is always go in and learn about the community and make a decision based on what you learn about that community, because they know what they need. Tell you, got 30 seconds. We did an Adopt a Village project in Honduras, a 5-year project. And we had a committee. This was 2007, 2008. And one of the Rotarians on the committee, and I know this is not meant to be offensive, said, how can we ask them, how can they know what they need? They're poor. Well, by the way, that was his last committee meeting. I will tell you, the people in these communities know what they need. Everybody on this call knows that better than I do.
Yeah.
I would go in and talk to them.
Yeah.
And find out what the need is.
You have to ask, but and sometimes, I mean, you have to really look at this. Sometimes when you give something, then the expectation is I'll get more, and I keep my hand out. If they maybe have to take a loan to buy a sewing machine, as an example, then they have skin in the game, which I call skin in the game. So, there's a part of ownership there as well. And what we've seen over the years, people, when they have skin in the game, they're there for the long term. As Nick talked about repayment rates on microfinance loans, globally 97%. I'm an ex-banker. I would say in my presentations, if I was a commercial banker, I'd kill for those rates. I mean,
I'm sure.
Because people, you're giving people that sometimes don't have the ability or don't have the opportunity to have those, well, and I would call them, they don't have that opportunity. So when they get the opportunity of being able to participate or get a small loan to help themselves, they're not going to let anybody down.
No, I'm sure.
And they don't want to let themselves down.
All right.
But I know we're probably over time, but very quickly, I just want to do a quick promo, and I've seen it on the chat line. So RAGSED as well. We're going to have a booth at the Rotary Convention in Melbourne. So please come and check out our booth. And plus, when you see the program, check out the program because we're on a breakout session as well. And maybe in future conventions, we can do something together on a breakout session, showing how we made a great impact working together.
Yes, I think that would be a brilliant idea. And we will probably also see you at ragtime.
Definitely. Thursday evening.
Yes.
Yeah. Can I jump in with one short comment, if possible?
Please go ahead.
Okay. He just mentioned about skin in the game. What we are doing in our organization, we are trying to promote one of the entrepreneurs every 2 months so that they feel confident that they're doing well. And by doing so, the others are getting more involved in their own internal businesses so that after every few months, they get a chance to promote their business amongst our community members. So it's like, tapping people getting excited with their own business, and that is allowing others to emulate them. And that's how our return of capital from the community is slightly higher these days. We just adopted this new culture and it's working. So I just wanted to share in this idea.
Very good.
Brilliant.
Very good.
Sharmila, would you like to
Sure.
thank our speakers?
Thank you very much for taking the time, Jim and Nick, for taking, especially I think it's morning time for you, and taking the time. Really appreciate it. And it's been an eye opener, obviously, talking to another RAG and it is something that we all need to do. And you have actually opened up and educated us a lot. And we've learned a lot today. And we've also had new faces joining us. So obviously, you know, the Rotary Action Group for Community Economic Development is something that a lot of clubs and RAC should be working with. It's about investing within the community, and you have actually showed us a path on how that's being done. So I really appreciate it, and thank you very much, everyone, for joining us this evening or this morning. Thank you.
Have a great.
Bye-bye, everyone. Thank you.
Thank
Thank you very
you.
much.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Everybody.
Bye. Good night.
Good night. Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Bye.
So